But not now. Not in broad daylight when his spies were likely everywhere. Asher had made it perfectly clear he wasn't letting her go anytime soon. Violet shuddered, imagining what he'd do if he caught her trying to leave. Running wasn't an option. Not yet. She had to be smart, strategic. No mistakes. She needed a plan, a way to stay safe until she could escape for good, without a trace. Lost in thought, Violet wandered aimlessly for what felt like hours. When she finally snapped out of it, the hallway was deserted, and she'd missed half of class. But she couldn't avoid class forever, no matter how shaken she felt. Taking a deep breath, Violet steeled herself and headed toward the classroom. The teacher would probably dock points, maybe even give her detention, but that was nothing compared to whatever Asher had planned. Suddenly, someone stepped out from a corner, blocking her path. It was Griffin Hale. A chill shot down Violet's spine. The blood drained from her face. Of all people, just her luck. Griffin didn't move. His gaze stayed locked on her. An unsettling realization hit Violet. This wasn't a coincidence. Griffin Hale had been waiting for her. Oh, God! Without a word, Violet spun around, ready to bolt in the opposite direction, but she crashed right into someone. Stumbling back, she looked up to see who it was, and her heart jumped when she met Alaric Storm's eyes. For a second, Violet felt a wave of relief. Alaric had always seemed the least threatening of the Cardinal Alphas. Maybe, just maybe, he'd help her. But then she remembered Alaric and Griffin were best friends, just like Asher and Roman. It clicked. Alaric wasn't there to save her. He was there to make sure she didn't escape. Her life sucked. Their eyes met for a split second, and he knew exactly what she was thinking. Violet's fight-or-flight instincts kicked in. She tried to dart to the side, but Alaric was quick, wrapping an arm tightly around her waist. "No! Let me go!" Violet screamed, fighting him with everything she had, twisting and squirming. But Alaric was strong, incredibly strong, and he pulled her back, holding her tight against his chest. She could feel how tense he was, his grip like iron. Without a second thought, Violet whipped her head back, hard. It connected with Alaric's face, smacking his nose with a satisfying crack. He yelped, his grip loosening for a split second, giving her a chance to break free. Violet didn't waste any time. She pulled away, spinning and slamming her elbow into his stomach for good measure, feeling him double over in pain. She was free, but only for a few seconds. Violet managed 2 desperate steps before hands grabbed her shoulders, and then she was lifted off the ground. A surprised yell escaped her as Griffin Hale tossed her over his shoulder like she weighed nothing. The world flipped upside down, her stomach lurching as she landed hard against his broad back. The impact knocked the wind out of her, and she groaned, wincing. "Put me down! Let me go!" Her screams echoed down the hallway. She kicked and thrashed, pounding her fists against Griffin's back, but he didn't even flinch. Instead, his arm tightened around her legs, holding her securely as he walked on. Panic clawed at Violet's insides. She was completely powerless against him. Griffin was a wall of muscle, his sheer strength making her feel totally helpless. Her cries for help went unanswered. The hallway was empty, and any hope of rescue was fading fast. Griffin pushed through a door, hauling Violet into an empty classroom. She heard the heavy door slam shut behind them, the sound bouncing off the walls like the final nail in her coffin. Alaric followed, his nose bleeding slightly, his face a mix of anger and annoyance. Before Violet could get her bearings, Griffin sat her down on one of the desks, his shadow falling over her as he loomed like a giant. Violet froze in terror, her heart hammering in her chest. The heat coming off Griffin was suffocating as he stood between her legs, way too close for comfort. She could barely breathe. A cruel smile spread across his lips. "Finally, I've got you, Purplehead. You don't know how hard it's been to catch you without Asher getting in my way." Violet's eyes went wide, fear closing her throat. Wait, what? Why? She hadn't done anything to provoke him since yesterday. Not on purpose, anyway. Except for the fact that Asher had punched his pack member because of her... Oh, she was in serious trouble. Her breath caught as Griffin grabbed her hair, yanking it hard, making her gasp. Tears sprang to her eyes from the sharp pain, and she cried out, "Who the heck are you? And what does Asher want with you?" Griffin growled, his voice a low, menacing rumble in Violet's ears. "I don't know!" Violet's voice cracked. The pain made her eyes water. Griffin didn't buy it. His face hardened and his grip on her hair tightened, pulling her head back and exposing her neck. "Don't give me that!" he spat, his breath hot against her ear. "I know that, Asher, and the fact that he's interested in you can't be good. So tell me, what's he planning?" Violet swallowed hard, her mind racing. She couldn't tell him the truth. The thought sent a shiver down her spine. There was no way she was letting Griffin know Asher planned to use her to challenge the Alpha King. Griffin would freak. He'd probably kill her right there, and no one would care. No one would even miss her, except maybe Nancy, who'd probably cry over all the money she'd wasted on Violet. She was an orphan, after all. Justice for orphans? Yeah, right. She had to play it smart. Griffin shook her roughly, jerking her head back. "I said, talk," he yelled. "I swear, I don't know. He just hangs around me, calls me his purple queen. That's all." She lied, trying to sound believable, her heart pounding as she glared back at him. "You're lying," Griffin growled, his voice rough and feral, like he was about to snap. His animalistic tone sent chills down Violet's spine. She froze, remembering that werewolves could tell when someone was lying. They could hear the tiniest change in a heartbeat, a dead giveaway. But Violet had no choice. Griffin didn't like her, and he could never know the truth. This was a dangerous game, but she had to make him believe her. Fake it till you make it. That was her only plan right now. With no other option, Violet suddenly screamed, her voice loud and full of anguish. "Oh my God, why won't you believe me? Why are you doing this to me? Is it because I'm human? Is that why you're bullying me? Why don't you go ask Asher yourself why he's doing this? I didn't do anything wrong by getting accepted into this school, did I?" Tears started streaming down her face, and Violet let herself go, bawling uncontrollably. Griffin froze. His hands on her hair went still as he stared at her, wide-eyed, totally dumbfounded. It was clear from his shocked expression that crying was the last thing he'd expected. "Griffin!" Alaric's voice cut through the commotion, calling his name with a grimace. There was a definite accusation in his eyes, like he was silently blaming Griffin for making her cry. Alaric hadn't been on board with this plan from the start. Griffin had promised just to scare Violet into telling the truth, and Alaric's job was to make sure things didn't get out of hand. God forbid Violet provoked Griffin into letting his beast loose. It would be a total disaster. Griffin let go of Violet instantly, almost like she'd burned him. He looked nervously between her and Alaric. Shaking his head frantically, he yelled, "I didn't even do anything." Unfortunately for Griffin, Violet wailed even louder, her cries echoing through the classroom. "Why are you doing this to me? Why do you hate me so much?"
Wait, that's not the end. You've just had a free taste. Now get the full story on the Pocket FM app, link in description. Check out our next video and playlist, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.